What's up guys, Wolf Bandits here with some gameplay for you guys. If you guys enjoy this, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Enjoy the rest of the video.
We're already at a crossroads. Choosing a path in life is that fork in the road where you make a choice or simply stop living. But for you, it's not only a crossroad, but a choice. A reflection of your key, the primal energy that flows through everything.
Let me introduce myself. I'm the light and bright side of you, or your inner voice to be precise, an echo of balance and consequence of your actions as you move forward.
Seems more like you're being light-headed if you ask me, but you'll come around, eventually.
But what comes around goes all the way back around. So, it's better to stick to your instincts. You can't fight what's in your nature.
In your nature, and here I was hoping we'd be all about natural selection, survival of the strongest, and so forth. If that's not instinct, then I don't know what is.
Natural selection is all about evolution and progress, and as soon as there's enough light, darkness will disappear.
Stories of death and the bodies left behind. A reminder that we're at the mercy of nature and the one that preys on others. Do you remember the beast that shattered your family? Or did you choose to forget? You turned your back on our world and got lost in your own. Meanwhile, the predator only grew stronger. You better make a run for it. This is not the time nor place to end this story. This time, it was best to run and live to fight another day. Let us hope you're ready for it when it comes. Ps5 built vessels called arks to save themselves from the impending doom. But was it too late? It is only from the flight logs of the single ark they left behind that we know other arks traveled through the sky and beyond. It seems those that came before us never lost hope in finding a new home for their kind. There are few records of the chain of events that led to the big apocalypse eons ago, but it's clear the world wasn't prepared for how recklessly the Toxanol Corporation would make its mark on the world. Their rare earth mining and nuclear industries generated tons of waste, and, without consideration for the future, they dumped it all in landfills until they ran out of space. That's when they made the big mistake. They began dumping the toxic waste in the surf just off the coast instead, assuming that it would sink and decay with time. And they were right, but no one was prepared for what was about to unfold. Once in the surf, the radiation interfered with the genetics of the wildlife and created bizarre mutations in their offspring. It had an inconceivable impact on biodiversity and the entire ecosystem. The world as they knew it crumbled as nature retaliated. It would never be the same again, and what remained of it became ours. He wants to thank you for taking his side against the scavengers. He sounds familiar. You just can't figure out why. He presents himself as out of date. He knows he's way overdue, but he hasn't given up. He doesn't seem surprised that you don't recognize him. You were just a child back then, the night everything changed. There have been rumors of a one-eyed Ronin seen outside the Great Wall, and he's happy to see it's true. The legend of the one-eyed child that grew up as an outcast is old and sad. The child could have been anyone, but the evil it had fled had left a mark, a facial scar to remember the past. How Lupa Lupin somehow left you alive after his raid on the old village. He must have had a purpose with that. The question is, what? There's no doubt you're the child, and that what Lupa Lupin did to your village, your Muma and Popsy, was the beginning of the end. He says it has taken you a long time to bring the past back up to the present, to find your way back, but he's grateful you have. It was after the attack that the unity fell apart. Your Muma's disciples divided and formed tribes as a reaction to the blight that had fallen upon the land. The impending threat of the World Eaters bringing down the Tree of Life is ever so close. He also worries about the Jagni tribe that's actively working for a doomsday and purging of the world. Had it not been for the Tree of Life, no one would have survived. He hopes you at least remember the tree. Asks if you were tired, as it's a bit of a hike here from the village. He wonders if your Muma knows you are here. You're such a good child, so you probably did. Even the young forget. He understands why you came all the way out here, to see them, the potato people. The potato people, or Nono, are a wonder, somehow interlinked with this little tree here fueling its source of life. You might be right. Like potatoes, they're packed with energy, an excellent source of ki. The Nono prefer to hide in glitter grass. He says you should get over there and ruffle it. See if you can make one come out of hiding. You've found one. You should be proud. They don't come out for everyone. The Nono's ki energy is just what the Ps5 needs to complete its cycle and grow into a tree of life. Only time will tell. At least his intention is to dedicate his life to it. He has the feeling the fate of the world depends on it. You'll need to support the tree for a long time to come. The only way it'll grow tall is with the burst of ki released from the Nono as they become one with the tree. You'll need a net to catch the Nono, and he wants you to use his, but asks you to be gentle. The Nono are sensitive beings, an embodiment of ki, the primal energy. You handle that net like you've never done anything else. He's impressed. He's grateful for all the help he can get. There's lots of Nono out there that need to be guided to the roots of the Ps5 tree. Oh, it'll need a continuous flux of ki over the 12 months to come, so countless, he'd say. One day, he hopes the tree will have grown tall enough to sustain the world. But today, your focus is getting this one to become one with the tree. Now that you've seen the Nono's connection with the tree with your own eyes, you have no reason to doubt. From this day on, he'll make nurturing the Ps5 into a tree of life, a life goal, not only for our village's sake, but for all of us, everyone. One day, the land won't be as peaceful. Not even your Mooma will be able to protect us. You can already see the effects from how reckless those before us acted, and unless something changes, we're doomed. The land won't survive the side effects of the old world's industrial advances. He says you'd better hurry back to the village before your Mooma comes looking for you. You did good here today. No, she's got lots on her mind and needs rest after the raid last night on the Lupin camp with her disciples. Wonders if they let the Predator family live or not. He lost you there for a while, but no memory is alone. It's part of a trail you can follow. He says he remembers every single day he devoted to growing the Tree of Life, but now he's afraid it might be in vain. The tree started to die when the end of days begun, and it wasn't long after that that the World Eaters arrived. records tell of the ruinous devastation the Toxanol Corporation inflicted on the land. The apocalypse sparked a re-evolution, the Second Coming, and our lineage. His friend Gizmo is working on a Mekton and needs help defeating the Jumbo Puff at the end of the West Route. Wiz is still repairing his octopod to confront the Merc Puff that dwells deep down under the surface at the end of the Northwest Route. Nocco has tamed the Midget and is preparing to take on the Hoof Puff at the end of the East Route. Finally, Goop is almost done with the Goo Glide, a machine able to ride the waves of the surf all the way out to the Porky Puff at the end of the route to the southeast. Out of Date says his friends are gearing up to stop the World Eaters. There's one at the end of each route. The road ahead won't be easy, but he's counting on your support. His friends aren't strong enough to end this on their own. He wants you to understand that you'll all die if the tree isn't saved. His friends have prepared something specific for each World Eater. The Mekton, the Octopod, the Majute, and the Goo Glide are almost ready to ride. Regardless, you'll meet again once you've played your part in the tribe war and the situation with the World Eaters. Know that the Tree of Life is dying. Its days are numbered. Without help, it can't endure the environmental change and assault from the World Eaters. Must be the World Eater that chewed off Out of Date's leg. You'll need a hat trick to bring that down. The World Eaters have made their marks on our world over time. That's not the first nor the last village it'll leave in its wake. There's Out of Date again. He must have missed something important. Out of Date says you will make a better stand against the World Eaters with the support of a tribe, and there are two nearby. The Myriad tribe is likely to be a good match as they act on the understanding of the greater good and have a code of honor. Regardless of who you choose, it won't be easy, as the conflict between the tribes is worse than ever, teetering on the brink of war. The Myriad's conviction to stop the World Eaters began when the Leviathans rose from the depths of the surf. Siding with the Myriad's movement for wholeness in a fragmented world might seem like the logical thing to do, but is it the right thing? One thing's certain, though. Destiny arrives all the same. The Jagni tribe only ever had one conviction: to bring balance to the world by wiping out the weak. They believe a cleansing is necessary to restore the world and want to let the World Eaters bring down the Tree of Life. But siding with Jagni isn't necessarily a bad thing. Fate will find a way. Out of Date says someone needs to break the stalemate and shift the balance of power to either Jagni's or Myriad's side.
Noburak.
He believes the tribe's Sifus, Myriad especially, will listen to you and expects you to pay at least one of them a visit and play your part.
Atu Wamawa.
Myriad is convinced that defeating the World Eaters is the only way the world can be saved, but they've been forced to focus on their rivalry with the Jagni tribe.
Le Yayato Ilya Antuf.
Out of Date will be waiting for you beneath the Tree of Life if you lose track of what you need to do.
Loma Tuaha.
Regardless, you'll meet again once you've played your part in the tribe war and the situation with the World Eaters. Says they're wary of strangers. They're at war. The Sifu's door is always open for newcomers, but he cautions you. They'll expect you to behave, or you'll have to face the consequences.
Sipi? Lapanen aginkan man. Karatna fala hutut mus. Tugai la wute.
The Myriad tribe act on understanding of the greater good and a code of honor. They believe uniting the tribes is the only way to restore the peace. The Sifu is convinced that defeating the World Eaters and saving the Tree of Life is the only way to make the world a better place. He welcomes you to the Myriad Fort and introduces himself as the tribe's Sifu. But he was hoping you'd show up. The news of a vigilante Ronin on crusade crossing the Great Wall through the crack in Bunker 101 has preceded you. The wall that separates them from the other side? The wasteland you came from? He guesses the time spent there just left a blank space in your memory, as empty and barren as the wasteland itself. He's convinced you've returned for a reason, and is glad you chose to come here. There's something about your spirit that sparks memories of you as a kidling. He can still sense you're kind-hearted. The Sifu says sometimes one memory can make another come to life. He hasn't thought about your Muma for ages, even though she taught him a lot. He was one of the original Wang Fu disciples. Your Muma invented Wang Fu. Originally, it consisted of unarmed combat and the 6 weapons: the boomerang, the shuriken, the bow, the staff, the nunchuk, and the hook and chain. The Sifu says it's time to set the past aside, at least for now. Unrest is sweeping the land, and there are rivals in all directions. Myriad wants unity between the tribes. Their goal is understanding of the greater good and establishing a code of honor. If you believe there's some good in everyone, there's still hope for tomorrow. You'll unite the tribes and defeat the World Eaters to save the Tree of Life. He was hoping you'd join them. You understand that there's no harm in doing good to others. The Sifu was waiting for something to tip the balance in their favor, and with you by their side, he's confident you can unite the other tribes. The one you should coerce first is the Jagni tribe. The Jagni tribe may believe that fear and hatred will lead them to domination. A vanquisition of the tribes and destruction of the Tree of Life won't be the restart they want. It's just an end to everything.
Karap la wute. Balam wene denke. But were yonke.
Their kin have run out of options and found themselves backed into a corner. Even those who desire peace have been forced to prepare for war.
But were yonke.
You need to take the struggle to the enemy, or the enemy will bring it to you. When survival is threatened, there's no other option left but war. He wants you to focus. These are the new rival outposts your tribe needs to take control of. He says you'll regret not being on their side. The only way you'll learn their secrets, Wung Fu and the tribe weapon now, is if you defeat him. And that will never happen. You both have gentle minds, so they want to wage a gentle war. A war that bonds as much as it breaks.
What? Saramoto?
Tells you not to be afraid. Your fate cannot be taken from you. Claim the rival outposts and earn the right to wield the tribe weapon.
Saramoto?
Once you've dealt with the rivals' outposts, you'll challenge their Sifu to unite their tribe with yours and let your kin share land again. They passed the point of no return as their words lost power and see no other way forward than using violence to combat violence. Seeing you brings back his memories of the old village. Myriad wants unity between the tribes. Their goal is understanding of the greater good and establishing a code of honor. He remembers your kind and unselfish soul and can sense you still have it in you, the will to do good. Anyway, the memories you make with your family are strong and can sometimes come to life. Passing the old village on your way to the first rival outpost might help. Even though it's now a different place from a different time, it is a place that'll make you remember. As time passes, memories fade, and sometimes feelings change. It's not about who you were, it's about who you'll become. This story is far from over. Echoes of a long-lost past like whispers in the wind. Here's someone who takes each day as it comes. He asks how you are today. Goop says he always does better whenever he leaves failure behind. He's happy his good mood is infectious. He wonders where you've been. He hopes you've been out at the lake, practicing your swimming technique. He understands Wung Fu is hard. That's why your Muma only has 6 disciples. Doing just one thing helps you get more done in less time. He thinks you should really know how to swim by now. Why not? There's no better time to do what needs to be done than right now. He says, that wasn't too bad, was it? Way to go. Don't let the sound of the waves drown out your spirit. But you need practice. Lots of practice. Great things usually happen to those who never stop trying. He hopes you'll be one of them. You just need more time in the surf. That's the only way you'll ever learn how to swim. You can never try too hard. Judging by your Muma's look, it seems you forgot something. You promised you'd train with her before the sun goes down. It's time to go. The dedication to training is important. You can't rely solely on the fact that Wang Fu is in your blood.
Tukonda,
You should know, practice makes perfect.
tukonda,
As long as it doesn't kill you, it'll only make you stronger.
tukonda.
She'll see you at the village square.
Narolote, tukonda.
She'll be waiting for you. There will be a surprise for you at the end, too. Here's another familiar face with lots on his mind. Asks how you're feeling today. Being nice comes easy for him. That doesn't make it less important. He was hoping you could help him pick up some scrap for a thingamajig he's working on. He's happy to hear that from someone that's a part of the coming generation. You owe it to yourself to protect the environment. You should look for things that are recyclable. It shouldn't take you too long to find some. You did well, but he can't help but wonder why you decided to craft a weapon. He believes being considerate will help you feel at peace with yourself. He understands, but hopes you won't be needing it anytime soon. You're not in this world to live up to his expectations, but he hopes you're never going to have to use that weapon of yours. He's looking forward to seeing what you'll make next. It seems you have a talent for this. It looks like she's starting to lose her patience. You know she doesn't like waiting for you. She wants to see you on the village square right away.
Dere, Kalino?
You'll continue to build on the basics. Talent will only take you so far.
Narolote.
She wants you to grow up and start thinking for yourself. You really need to find yourself before she's gone.
Monibasa, kodotuku.
That's all she's ever asked of you, that you'll try and give it your best. You can't do more than that.
Monibasa, ruhemuktono.
You've always followed your own path, but this time she needs you to follow her.
Katyaktopolupta, monibasa, ben nampusa.
Then start by meeting her on the village square and take it from there. She knows you're a free spirit, always on the move, like the wind. They look determined. Better watch out. He asks you to stop right there and wonders where you think you're going. He's not scared of anything, least of all you. There's no way they'll let you pass. He wants to know who you think you are. He says you're right. Nobody can tell him what he can and can't do, and that includes you. She asks if you're hurt. What happened?
Masamal ansonbara.
If confidence is silent and insecurity is loud, she thinks you're absolutely right.
Masamal
The most important thing is that you're okay.
asadurutu.
It's time to focus on your training now.
Vaseno kasamanwaru gendrana mala.
You won't need excuses if you are strong in your conviction. Here's someone close to heart, doing what he does best. Seeing you always puts a smile on your Popsy's face. He wants to know how you're feeling. He heard you helped Gizmo clean up. He's proud of you. He asks if you could help him too before you leave for training. He'll talk to her, sure, but you know she wants you to accept responsibility for your own actions and future. He suggests you get going and find him gadgets and ideas for how you can upcycle some old fabrics.
Gendrana mala.
Your Muma says it's about time you got here.
Kanamunt.
Hopes you're as ready as you claim to be.
Mustiki muhka pala.
She says she is eager to get started. You don't have much time left before the sun goes down.
Kala. Arieloche nui mumera.
But there's enough time left for repetition, and you need it. Training dummies don't hit back.
Kanamunt.
That's a good attitude as long as you keep learning.
Asana yotutupu.
Your Muma says you did well today. She's so proud of you.
Taifanamenuma.
Thanks you for being such a good student.
Vaiseno kasamanwaru. Kanamunta.
Been working on a present for you, with the help of Gizmo and Wiz.
Taifanamenuma. Amun.
You should go see him and find out what it is. You've deserved it.
Ritsentere.
Says he's always thought so well of you, just like her. Catchy.
Amun.
Your Muma says she's never seen an apparatus as green as this little thing. It's wonderful.
Kialdo male kanaru tunu.
She's happy you appreciate what others do for you.
Kanaruta. Kensib.
A piece of Scraptronics like this has built-in old-world tech that makes it a potent communication device.
Antoro.
It's called an automaton, and it's hardwired to your DNA. It'll follow wherever you go and see whatever you see.
Kanamunt.
You're lucky to have such a fine helper with you.
Kanamunta.
Your Muma says you look tired. No wonder. It's been a long day.
Ferena masalapu.
Says a good rest makes you ready for tomorrow. Rest and you'll find strength for tomorrow. Nothing could stop Lupa Lupin from setting the world on fire.
Antoro. Kensib. Kanamun.
Your Muma urges you to blaze a trail.
Droba.
Your Muma says this is it. The time has come. She must fight Lupa Lupin. This time there's no escape. She can hear him coming.
Andro?
He wants to destroy her. The time to fight is coming, whether she's ready for it or not.
Vaiseno kasamanwaru. Bere? Tatenko baba sakting.
Whatever happens, you need to know she loves you. And everything she's done has been to protect you, your Popsy, and those she was chosen to lead.
Bere?
She tells you to stay back. This is her fight. It has nothing to do with you. History has finally caught up with her.
Kensib. Asadurutu.
She loves how brave you are, but she can't be worrying about you while she fights. This is her fight. Here it comes, the past coming to haunt the present. You must go through fire and water to make it out of here. Your Muma says you can make it if you believe in it. Where she goes, you go. Blood is thicker than water. You're in deep surf. Don't make waves. The surf goes where it wants to go. It'll take you to the shore as long as you go with the flow. Death is not to be feared by one who has lived life with a pure heart. A part of her will live on in you. The creature is hungry for more. Nothing is going to stand in its way now. If a sacrifice is made for someone else, it's not lost, but passed on to the next. Life must go on. Real sacrifice comes from love and necessity when all other options are exhausted. The ultimate test of conscience is the willingness to give up anything to save what you truly care about. What you do for yourself dies with you. What you do for your kin remains and makes you immortal in their memory. As the moment fades and is lost, the only thing that remains is loneliness. It doesn't mean you'll forget your past. It simply means you need to move on. The outpost belongs to your tribe now. He says you made them weaker, but they won't give up. Your Sifu thanks you. Your tribe is growing stronger.
Get out of...
Says you did a great job capturing the outpost. You've earned the privilege of carrying the tribe's weapon. Figures the honor belongs to the tribe, too. Out-of-Date says he's doing his best to keep up, but from what he can tell, it seems you're making progress with the tribe conflict.
Mayani, Tamuk, Gabamuktab.
He had a feeling you'd get along with the Myriad tribe, but it remains to be seen what the future holds for your alliance.
Mokbu far kubi, Mayani.
You seem to share the same values as the Myriad tribe. You both have the same optimistic outlook on life. At least, for now. But Out-of-Date emphasizes that solving the tribe conflict won't matter unless you help make a stand against the World Eaters. That doesn't sound good. Out-of-Date's forebodings are justified. The jumbo puff needs to be taken care of.
Mokbu far kubi, Yatu yao mawa.
He says the time has come to confront the jumbo puff at the end of the west route.
Luatolu dum.
Gizmo is working on making his Mekton strong enough to endure the oxygen-deprived dead zone all the way out to the World Eater. You should get over there and see what you can do to help. The spent nuclear fuel that asap.All dumped in the surf had detrimental effects on the marine habitats, while the overflowing landfills contaminated the groundwater. Combined, this sent their world hurtling on an inevitable road to ruin. I need to brush up on my Wando, but I have a feeling he believes it was you that caused the bang at the yard. Oh, and he says he knows you. You used to call him Gizmo. He gave you the oil-greased hands when he taught you how to upcycle. Gizmo remembers you as a nice kidling, and he can still sense the warmth of your good heart. But Gizmo says how you experience a memory can be different. You know the story, but sometimes the truth it brings is personal. He hopes you remember that one time he taught you to upcycle, and hopes you've had some use for it over the years. Gizmo says he also has re-memories from the long gone, but unlike you, he doesn't think of the past, for it's gone. He understands history made Lupa Lupin a big part of your past, your present, and soon, your future. You still believe there's some good in everyone. You still have hope for tomorrow. He says you should know that what's meant to be will always find a way, but history shouldn't consume you. Gizmo encourages that. You should forgive, but never forget. It'll provide some comfort to your soul and keep the memory of lost loved ones in your heart.
Fan that flame!
Wait, no! Bright light blinds! It's dangerous.
I've got all the cold sick burns you need, Dark.
Oh, do you have to insult me over this?
I don't have to, but I want to.
Would like to know if you ever doubt the choices you made on the path that brought you to this point. Would you have been happier going in a different direction? Figures you're either a rare person or a good liar. Maybe both. Hard to believe the world is actually going to survive. Just seemed impossible till now. Grateful to you for coming back and doing your best to change things. You were the only chance they had. Wonders if you liked working with the Myriad. They always seemed so centered and so seeking. Figures everyone does. They seem unusually dedicated to finding them. But that's not important now. Gizmo says it's taken a long time to bring the past up to the present, and where you go from here is up to you. You need to set the past aside, at least for now. He can't leave the underyard as he has no protection against the vacuum in the dead zone, so you need to salvage scrap to upcycle the Mekton, starting with the old crate outside. You should return when you've retrieved the scrap. There's no time to waste if you want to make the Mekton strong enough to fight the Jumbo Puff. It's the part of the land that suffered most from the apocalypse. It's deprived of oxygen, making it next to impossible for anything but creatures that were most contorted by the contamination. He says that's enough to get the Mekton functional. You'll have an engine, a fuel soaker, a gun, and a gathering net, but no armor, nor enough oxygen supply. He made a suction device so the Mekton can use the black tar as an instant refuel. You can also use it to clear oily goo puddles, so you can pass and access hard-to-get-to areas. He's been working on another project for the Mekton, a cannon, but it needs ammunition, and by that he means the scripts. He says if they're trained right, they'll turn into a distraction for the jumbo puff. The best way to find scripts is to go talk to Moog. He knows the ins and outs of every breathing thing left alive after the apocalypse. Unfortunately, this means you'll have to venture farther out into the dead zone than Moog's camp on the steep depot. Once you find Moog, he'll be able to give you directions to where you'll find scripts. It's a little feisty and tough critter, a perfect fit for a live ammunition, if you ask him. Open that tin can and escape. That over there is Steepo Depot, the cliffside that Moog hangs on to. A ladder would be better.
Inmo. Diava. Gakuhu ai arin kashumai.
This one's impressed to see you out here. He figured you'd be dead by now. Not many are as tough and clever as you must be. Claims he goes after the most dangerous game, huge monsters. Moog says that all your power doesn't do you a bit of good if you're not willing to pull the trigger when the time comes. Choosing what to kill and what to spare are the most important decisions you'll make. You might have a steady aim, but you need to be sure that you pick your targets with care. It's hard to make those life or death decisions for others, but someone's got to do it. Otherwise, they'll do it themselves, and you know they'll miss. Claims he mostly kills whoever he doesn't like. Says it's wild that the world seems to be coming back, but he supposes that means more monsters for him to shoot. Wonders why you work so hard to keep things alive. Bullets help thin the herd instead. Says you should give up on working with the stubborn myriad. He keeps trying to put out their lights and they keep putting up new ones. He's afraid you're just as stubborn as them. But enough of that, right? He says the wildlife, nature, has changed and turned against us. Instincts of survival took over when the world changed. He's not sure about their veggie diet anymore, and if it's changed, who knows what it's done with the chemical composition of their body output. Right now, though, he feels he's come to a point where he's got a pretty clear idea on the whereabouts of monsters, both tall and short. Says as big as they are, the world is bigger. To find where they are, you need to see where they've been. Moog says you must learn to walk before you can run. It takes practice before you can call yourself a monster hunter. Fortunately for you, he can help. He understands you need to start off with something small before you go big. There's no better place to start than a scrip cave. Hunting down a couple of these little critters for yourself should keep you on your toes.
Chérie la fille.
Says it's not far at all. Fortunately for you, the scripts seem to have acclimatized themselves to the otherwise uninhabitable dead zone. Once the volatilization from the nuclear waste evaporated, a volatile gas rose through the soil and infested structures, even Toxanol's own buildings. So, in a way, they caused their own death. He says that's enough scripts to sustain the Mekton's claw crane cannon with infinite ammunition. Well done. It's not his cleanest invention so far, but it gets the job done. Use it to suck up gooey oil puddles in the Mekton's way so you can pass. Gizmo's made vehicles before to confront the Jumbo Puff himself, but failed. But this time, it's different. The Mekton will be strong enough to do the job. It's time to put a stop to the World Eater now. Otherwise, he fears the damage it's caused to the tree already will be too much to handle. He asks you to not even think about taking on the Jumbo Puff on foot. You'll need the Mekton to do the job. Take his word for it. There's time to improve the Mekton before you confront the Puff. There are more wreck boxes out in the dead zone with gear you should be able to equip the Mekton with on your own. He got the idea to build the Mekton when he found a big crate containing the metal frame for something Toxanol had named an exoskeleton. Gizmo wants to help if he can. It doesn't matter if you're scared to meet the Hoof Puff. Happy you're no longer so shy. Good to have you working to help out. Understands you have other places you need to go. Gizmo wants to help if he can. Wonders why you can't see how pointless all your efforts are. Says talking to you was interesting. Gizmo wants to help if he can. You need to help Gizmo defeat the Jumbo Puff before it destroys the West Route. Says it feels strange to see you wandering about. Has plenty to do, so no worries. Gizmo wants to help if he can. Says you should take care. That's a Jumbo Puff with an appetite. Got a bad feeling about this. It goes all the way down to the stomach. The Taurus is pumping. Who would have guessed it would go down with a throw-up? Can it really get any better than that?
Volo Matati.
He thanks you for dealing with the first World Eater. It's a start.
Gelen denken of wood nea, I can't.
You should go see Out of Date and find out what you can about the machine he's named the Ark.
Gelato fole, Volo Matati.
You're good-hearted enough, so you'll have no problem getting him to share the information with you.
Gela fole vasine habele, gine affirma catano shuk budo.
He trusts you know where to find Out of Date by now. He's always been at the foot of the tree, and that hasn't changed. There it is, the Tree of Life. The idea that all life is related by common descent, where the twigs are existing species and those produced in the past represent the succession of the extinct. The tree's great branches were once budding twigs, a connection between the past, present, and future. A representation of all extinct and living species with its ever-branching and beautiful ramifications. We are an evolution of those that came before. Hey, a mount has no gears to grind. Out of Date's impressed you made it this far, but there's still so much left to do. The end of the world is still on everyone's minds.
Come, Reaper.
You've beaten a path where you have the power to destroy or save everyone. Question is, what you'll do with that responsibility. He can sense that your heart beats steadily and acknowledges that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Thinks it's important that you remember who you are and where you came from. Someone without knowledge of their history and origin is like a tree without roots. It's important to stay grounded. You share the same fate as the tree. Out of Date says there's a time for everything. And now there's no use thinking of the past, for it's gone. Think of the present, because that's where you are. It's time to set your priorities as the one who completes things. If you continue to do good, good will follow you. If the world really does end, there won't be anywhere to run. So, he's prepared for the worst, something he calls the Ark. He hopes you're right. He gets that you mean the journey continues either way, but personally he wants the tree to survive. Out of Date says there's no clear record of the chain of events that changed the course of history and brought the world to its knees. He's found evidence on the Ark, records of a crisis, decades of contamination that permeated the ground and broke its inner core. The contamination disrupted what we now know as Ki energy, the life force that runs through all things, living and inanimate. He's been told the blight affected everything at a genetic level and turned our perception of normality on its head. It was only those that changed that avoided extinction, proving that the possibility for survival and renewal was real. He understands you are curious about the ship at the foot of the tree. He says it surfaced when the oil broke through the ground. The Ark predates the back-in days, and now, after years of study of the manuals he found inside, he believes he's figured the ship out. The Ark has room for 4 more, and he trusts you'll apply wisdom to your compassion and choose whom to save if the world comes to end.
Cantita duela bofo baluutulua.
He'll keep the seats open, and you are free to invite up to 4 others to join you in the Ark, in the event of a cataclysm.
Kobwa yake I kobe. Ifari kobo faru.
Out of Date says that from what he's heard, you've been busy.
Koyevun. Tuvun bunun.
He says he appreciates what you've done so far, but unfortunately he's got urgent news from his friend Goop in the southeast.
Umbubu tubuko. Miami.
Out of Date says that even though he's unsure about your intentions, he hopes you'll support Goop.
Nuekek ujbar no barke.
He says he'll point you in the right direction, but finding Goop and making sure he gets what he needs is up to you. That's the sound of impending doom. Out of Date's premonitions of imminent disaster are true. The Porkypuff needs to be handled. Out of Date says that Goop is worried now that the Southeast World Eater is stepping up its activity. He explains that Goop is working on a goo-gliding vessel in order to get to the World Eater, but needs help to get it done. Out of Date suggests that you should head southeast as fast as possible and see what you can do to help. He wonders what's on your mind. Says you should take care. Gulpo ain't the easiest tongue, but I think he says he's happy to see a friendly face. Not too many of those around these days. Says it's good to see you again. He's Goop. You might remember him from the old days when he tried to teach you how to swim. Goop says you were always so righteous as a child, and he can still feel it, even at a distance. Goop says memories fade surprisingly fast. We are all pieces of what we remember. It's only together we can remember the story as it was. He recalls you wouldn't put in the time required to learn how to swim. He bets you regret that now. Goop says our memory keeps things for us and protects them until we are ready to face them again. He understands you've returned to face Lupa Lupin. That's the destiny you've been carrying within yourself all these years. He says that the catastrophe back then didn't vanquish the good in you. It's still there, as bright as when you were a child. Now the time has come for you to remember and act. Your life is your life, not the story you're told about it. He thinks that's the right thing to do. It's only when you have forgiven that you'll find peace.
Light instantly banishes dark.
How much light do you really need?
All the light, all of it!
I mean, you could leave a little space for the dark.
All the light.
Says life on the goo is wide open. You have so many choices of where to go. Some harder than others, of course. Which kind do you like? Best to stick close to the shore then, where the goo isn't so deep. That's like being close to your friends who can help when things go wrong. Can hardly believe the world is going to make it. Wonders what that's going to do to the goo. Thanks you for doing everything you could to de-goop the surf. Thinks the Myriad made a good match with you. You're both like sunshine on the surf. Claims he didn't say that out loud. But hey, back to the goo. Knows yesterday is already gone. It's what you do today and tomorrow that'll move you forward. You need to set the past aside, at least for now. He can't leave the Subnautica station, as the pollution has worn down the insulation of his suit, so you must salvage enough scrap to fix up his goo glide, starting with the old wreck box outside. You should return when you've retrieved the scrap. There's no time to waste if you want to make the goo glide strong enough to fight the Porky Puff. It's not that it won't keep your head above the surface, but it needs improving to carry you across the thick goo out by the Porky Puff. He's got the goo glide functional. You'll have a pull hook and a salvage net, but no armor, and an engine strong enough to break through the thick goo further out. There are lots of valuables left behind on the surf floor that the salvage net will enable you to haul. You just need to find the right spots. Goop says Gizmo's devised a cannon for the goo glide, but instead of bullets, it flips quacks, squeaky distractions for the triple attentive Porky Puff, which will give you time to get yourself in position. The best way to find quacks is to talk to Gulp. He has the bearings of the surfipelago and knows where the quacks like to float. This means you'll have the privilege of visiting Gulp in the Sinky Dink. He'll be able to give you directions to where you'll find quacks. He only knows what's visible to the naked eye. Gulp is not much of a babbler and mostly keeps to himself and his drink. This here is the Sinky Dink, home of Gulp, at the very least.
Ja.
He's pretty sure he's heard of you before, although the details are maybe a little hazy. He wonders if you have something for him to drink. Says it's both everything you could want and never enough. Says you look like you've got a powerful thirst to do something in this world. Good, bad, not really sure, but it seems like you've been drinking in your destiny and liking the flavor. Wonders if you could take the time to help a man slake his own thirst. You'd be doing him a liquid solid. You're a do-gooder, so you know you want to. Either way, he hopes you find a way to wet your whistle before the world comes to an awful dry end and leaves us all thirsting for more. Says life's like a mystery drink. Sometimes it's amazing, and sometimes it's awful. But either way, you can't stop drinking till you're dead. Sure, but that's nowhere near as quick and easy. Who wants to stop to chew? Wants to raise a glass to you getting the world fixed up a bit. Respects how you always try to help, no matter that the world's fate is hard to swallow. Sees why you joined up with the Myriad. They like a peaceful drink, just like you. Says he sells them drinks. They mostly suck them down on their own. But who cares about them? Says you'd be as bummed out as him if you came for the hot stuff. The glugmocker, Nimhimbibble, and his favourite radium syrup. That one's even more intoxicating now, aged in truck tankers and all. Without a drink, and radium syrup especially, he can't move, much less think, as the power of his mind is directly proportioned to the quantity of syrup he swigs. That's why he's called Gulp. The drink helps him forget the state the world is in, but it only lasts until tomorrow. The world is still doomed, even if the sun goes up. Figures the real problem is finding something to drink. He wants you to know he has other interests too. He's the Surfipelago's self-proclaimed ornithologist, for example. There are other ways than a cold drink to relieve stress, even in these dark times, and, fortunately for you, he can help. Watching Pippi's flap is calming, but better yet are the ones you can look at and touch, like quacks. Squeezing them is a great way to relax. They're better at floating than flapping, so you should be able to net a few without growing yourself a pair of wings. Gulp says he'll bibble anything once, as that leads him to the bottom of that Thinks you're not the only... That's enough quacks to sustain the Googlide flipper with infinite ammunition. Goop says he was there when the Porky Puff took Out-of-Date's leg, so this World Eater has made it personal. After that, Out-of-Date started using his head instead of his legs and came up with the plan on how to best make a stand against the World Eaters, and it wasn't by foot. That's how he got tasked with rebuilding the Googlide. He seems happy to talk. Says you're welcome back. It's the Porky Puff nibbling bark. It took quite a liking to the crunchy stuff after munching down Out-of-Date's leg. Can you feel it? It's the brisk wind of change. Don't let this opportunity slide. Stretching before you. He thanks you for dealing with another World Eater. You're halfway there. He's got word Out-of-Date spotted Loopalupin and has a feeling your time has come. He hopes you're up for it.
Mulekan frifgels.
Even though you're good-hearted, you shouldn't miss this opportunity to confront the predator.
Der genken alle back, karadam woof and a mat gain.
Just head back to the foot of the tree. Fingers crossed Lupin will stay put until you're there.
Kutuvun poputove.
Out of Date says the time has come for you to reconcile with your past.
Mpa, wherefore, where?
Lupin is still staying in the camp where he was brought up. He hopes you'll find the answers you are looking for there.
Mpa, wherefore, where?
Even though darkness is a part of your nature, he suggests you try to keep your cool, as the best fighter is never angry.
Mpa, wherefore, where? Cantita duela bofo.
He'll point you in the right direction, but the rest is up to you. This part of the journey is one you'll have to do on your own. Lupin's camp has always been there, hidden deep inside the mountains.
E paso tombupu du koye.
Out of Date hopes you'll find your way and the answers you were looking for once you're there.
Ugambun ang ugagad yebromo bufu.
He knows he said it before, but the time has come to put an end to the Lupin's reign of terror.
Ugambun ang ugagad yebromo bufu. Cantita duela bofo.
You should get over there, come face to face with destiny. It's going to be you against the Lupin. No rules.
Atu wamawa.
He's happy to help.
Valu alu hero.
Says goodbye to you. Lupin says he's been looking forward to this moment. He wanted you to come here and see for yourself where it all started. He was so little when your mother and kin came here to put an end to his mother just because she was different, a hunter. That night, the hunter became the hunted, trapped with nowhere to run. He says your mother showed no mercy, only vengeance. He can see that you're not like your mother. There's something different about you. Maybe you would have made a better decision than she did, and let them be. They orphaned him, left him alone, an outcast and a freak. Lupin says he's been reliving the moment every night since then. He says your mother and her disciples started something that couldn't be undone. They created the monster he would become. He knew his time would come, and he was patient. So, when he got news about your birth, he knew how to get revenge that would last. That's why he spared you that night he raised the village when you were a child. He wanted you to suffer for life, like he had. He marked you for life, so he'd recognize you when you met again, and you'd eventually remember where you came from. His hunger grew insatiable over the years to come. He tried, but being vegetarian wasn't in his nature, and he couldn't go hungry. But he's never taken a life for the sake of appetite. It's always been about survival, and that our true self is being who we are. A deep look into nature will make you understand everything better, and that natural selection eliminates, and the strongest survive. Fate is for those too weak to determine their own destiny, and now the time has come for you to accept yours.
Fabobe, mok kofar potawata.
Out of Date says that from what he's heard, you've been busy.
Mauya, the wata. Chintwata moti huasa.
He says he appreciates what you've done so far, but unfortunately he's got urgent news from his friend Noko in the east.
Kobwa yaka, kotuvon ko kumvun kono.
Out of Date says that even though he's unsure about your intentions, he hopes you'll support Noko.
The wata. Honto kontue pon yevun gojo.
He says he'll point you in the right direction, but finding Noko and making sure she gets what she needs is up to you. That doesn't sound good. Out of Date was spot on. The hoof puff needs to be stopped.
Yowotulua.
Out of Date says that Noko is worried now that the Eastern World Eater is stepping up its activity.
Mauketo tolu ayadre ikamaperna.
He explains that Noko keeps a fabled steed that she has planned to ride out to the World Eater, but needs help to get it prepared.
He kobe. He kobo far.
Out of Date suggests that you should head east as fast as possible and see what you can do to help.
Tulua ba volua.
He's happy to help.
Loma utulu ba yowo.
Says talking to you was interesting.
Puri kumbala muma. Berry?
Nooks isn't an easy language, but at least it's manageable. She says she is so happy to see you again.
Kialdo male canodo, canorota.
She wonders if you remember her. She's Noko. She let you ride her Majut when you were a kid.
Kialdo male canodo.
Noko remembers you used to chase around with so much energy and is glad to see you haven't lost any of that spark.
Canamunta.
But that's all long gone now, though. Memories show us where we've been, not where we're going.
Inadabsunka monibasa.
Seems reluctant to even say its name. It's become personal to her too, since it's taken so many of her innocent gnotes as prey.
Narolote. Asadurutu.
Noko remembers those days too, but she never lets herself wallow in them, no matter how tempting that can be.
Inyavaldo anora kapapum. Pendrine senema.
She sees you're back to buck with Lupa Lupin. Can't see how there's any way to avoid that now. Not for long, at least.
Brumblene marsamambunundu. Masamal.
She says the horrors of your younger days were enough to ruin anyone, but not you. You've got all that cheer about you still.
Pial tu ma canamunt masamal.
Noko says history is like the trail you've been on. You can walk back down it any time you like until it's worn smooth. But you get to blaze your own trail from here.
Taifanamenuma.
Then you are stronger than her. She can't help wanting Lupa Lupin to pay for what he did to her gnotes, despite the fact it's against her nature.
The light shines on!
Better isn't the word I would use.
Right, not better. Best.
You're the worst.
The worst of being the worst. We're just the best.
Puri kumbala muma. Masamal.
Asks how many paths you've wandered in the world, and if you ever wonder about what might have changed if you'd taken different ones.
Taifanana numa.
You can't do everything you want, can't go everywhere, can't see everything, only what you can.
Tukonda. Kala.
So happy the world is going to live, would have been crushed to see all the gnotes die with it.
Kala. Tukonda.
Likes that you stood up for the world and spurred your way toward helping it out.
Pala.
Glad you saw the light with the myriad. They always bring a sparkliness to any day, and sometimes the nights too.
Pola kuto. Andro.
They're just so shiny, makes her smile to think about them.
Pala.
But let's not speak of that now.
Kuto tuku.
She has an idea where the Majut might have gone, as there's no other place it likes as much as its own corner of the open wild. She's even named it the Majut Meadow.
Arialoche nui mumera. Urasa durut.
The Majut will recognize the scent you've attracted while being here, so it'll probably trust you enough to follow you.
Inyava aldo.
You should lead the Majut back here when you find it. It's going to take time to get it calm enough to be able to ride out to the World Eater.
Pola kuto.
It's the most magnificent creature she's ever encountered. A creature straight out of a dream or story.
Inyava aldo. Pala.
Now that the Majut is back in the pen, it seems calm, but Noko is still concerned.
Kanamunt.
She says the Majut is still anxious, but fortunately she knows just the thing it needs to calm down.
Beri. Amun.
The Majut once found and ate a bonbon gummy by mistake, and that the chewing really calmed it down.
Pendrine senema. Beri. Anora kapapum.
She says that you should find some bonbon gummies for the Majut by the crossway. At least, that's where she found some last time.
Urasa durut. Kala. Andro.
It's easy to describe. A crossway is where roads meet in a knot and merge. This one is in Sector 7J, if you're familiar with Out-of-Date's map. This might be the end of everything as we know it. With its attention diverted to the chewy bonbon gummy, the Majut calms down. But Noko is still concerned.
Urasa durut. Kialdo male kanodo.
She's relieved the Majut has calmed down, but you'll need a heavier sit-tight to ride it than the one she's got.
Arialoche nui mumera.
The only sit-tight she can think of that would be heavy enough is one she's spotted mounted on an old-world mecha-Majut.
Pial tu ma tukonda.
If she remembers correctly, she spotted it at the Smilo Shopperia while scavenging for treats for the gnotes. That's not so far away.
Vaseno kasaman varu.
It's a seat you fasten on the back of a mount to safeten up your ride. It can become quite bumpy and risky without.
Masamal kamonu. Sana yote.
Now that the Majut's got a mouthful of bonbon gummy and the brand new sit-tight is in place, the Majut is ready to ride.
Ferena masalapu kututuku.
Noko's been training another fantabulous little critter that'll hopefully become a distraction for the hoof puff when you confront it.
Pola kuto. Andro kututuku.
She's called them glitter moths, and the best way to find them is to go talk to Mito. She's asked him to keep them somewhere safe.
Tukonda.
You'll find Mito at Bright Light. He's a light-headed fellow, but hopefully he'll remember where he stored the moths.
Asadurutu.
He's been able to literally shed some light in the darkness for her over the years, but also because of his cheerful manner. Mito lives close by.
Zaikandum.
With the world getting darker by the day, there's not much time left to save it, and even though you've just met, he feels you're bound to play a huge part in that. Says there's so much darkness to deal with. Rather than curse it, he makes lamps to fight it. You've found your way through the darkness. You shine like the sun in the sky, but will you use that power to warm the world or burn it? Hopes you see how much good you can do with power like that, and how easy it is to let it drive you mad. No matter where your path takes you, though, it's important to remember where you came from. The past bright lights the present. Wonders if you know how much of an effect you've had upon the world. Your presence changes things like light changes darkness. Did you realize that when choosing where to shine? Says he can see that in the way you brighten everything up. So happy you know you're helping brighten the world. There's plenty of it that's still worth saving. Whatever happens to the world, you shone as bright as you could. That matters more than you know. Says you did the right thing in taking up with the Myriad. They buy lots of his lamps. That's a tribe that believes in the bright things in the world. Claims he wasn't trying to sell you anything. Now, says he can see by the twinkle in your eyes that you're not here to talk about your allies. He assumes you are here to be enlightened. He can't blame you, as everything just feels dark and hopeless these days. There's something about you, like you're knit together. Your fate's connected. What you've said, he feels too. So, why not call him Me Too? He senses you're like the dayfly, living every day like it's your last, afraid that when night comes, it might be proved right. Believes no one is entirely dark. Even the worst have a spark of good in them. Mito says he's not only into those who shine bright, he likes things that glitter too. He reckons you haven't seen a glitter moth, and says it's about time you did. Even though they're nesting near gone grass, they never run out of glow. Finding yourself a glitter moth would give you that glimmer of hope you need to continue all the way to the end. Glows with delight at your bright passion for the light. That's enough glitter moths to make her plan work. She wants you to stop worrying about the paths you've ridden and focus on the inevitable road ahead, the one that leads to confrontation with the World Eater. The hoof puff is evidence of the duality of evolution, utterly beautiful and grotesque at the same time. She means that the hoof puff has had more time to eat at the root as it's been isolated in the Knoopstonies mountains. So, based on that alone, she reckons it has suffered as much damage as the northwest root that's hidden beneath the surf. Everything in nature is dual, and so is evolution as it struggles to find balance in creation. She wonders what could be more beautiful than imperfection. That sealed the fate of the third World Eater. Just one more to go. Out of Date asked to see you again to congratulate you and let you in on the final phases of his plan. This is your chance to get his priorities aligned with yours. Do right by your tribe and the world at large. Just head back to the Ark. He seemed eager to see you again.
Mayani. Junto con tu bonjevun gojo.
Out of Date thinks the time has come to end the conflict between the tribes. There won't be any winners in this war.
Nuka nuburak.
You should know it's not too late to change direction by visiting another tribe's fort. However, it might be best to stick with the tribe you've chosen already.
Momombusu?
He believes it'll take someone with a light perspective and key to counterbalance the Sifu's energy in the end.
Yevofo lolanofo.
Regardless of the outcome, you need to play your part and conclude the conquest. It'll be over soon.
Kotuvon ko kumvun konu.
Out of Date reminds you that the time has come to end the tribe war.
Tamuk gabamuktab.
He's happy to help.
Kuzata ghetto.
Understands completely.
Monibasa.
She wonders if the rumors she's heard about you finding the Ark are true.
Taifananuma.
She's thrilled you found one. There's nothing you can't do.
Kamonu. Arialoche nui mumera.
With the world recovering, the Ark would be a wonderful way to see it. So much faster than even her favorite Gnotes.
Asana yotpa.
Loves that you did your best to help the world rather than hurt it. You could have used much more of that, even before you returned.
Kala.
Any idea who might be joining you on your Arky journeys?
So, what we have here is an opportunity to help your next. There's a seat open on the Ark should you want to offer it as a gesture of appreciation.
Why? You don't need anyone else but yourself and me, of course, but I'm a part of you, so that doesn't count.
If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. The only one we'd want to get away quickly from here is darkness.
But you know you can't go on without me. Even if I'm bad company, I complete you.
I think we can finally agree on something. It is better to be alone than in bad company. But best of all is being good company yourself.
Kodotuku.
Feels deeply honored that you'd want her to come with you. An Ark is no Gnote, but she can't pass this up. She's coming aboard.
It's intended.
Noko knows she's known for saying things over again.
Anora kapapum.
Thrilled to know you're on the side of those trying to improve things.
Kanyala notoro.
Says you'll see each other later.
Inadabsunka.
Tells you not to worry about her. She'll go straight to the Ark once she's said goodbye to all her Gnotes.
Domale tuku.
Noko knows she's known for saying things over again.
Orasa durut.
So, says you covered the important things already. The Jagni tribe wants to become omnipresent and, most importantly, feared. They want to vanquish the tribes as the only way they can guarantee peace is through supremacy. He didn't expect it would go down this way. It'll be hard to talk your way out of a fight. There's no way he'll surrender to threats. He recognizes the strength of a good argument and agrees it's for the best. He'll surrender the fort to you. The rival Sifu is defeated, and the destiny of their tribe is in your hands. You are free to choose their fate, but not free from the consequences of your choice. He'll leave it up to you to decide the fate of the rival Sifu, but suggests you be merciful. Do good, and good will follow you. Thinks it's a good gesture to offer support to others when you can see that they need it. And with that, you're spinning your own fate, good or bad, never to be undone. Side by side they'll stand until order and stability is reinstituted. He wants you to focus. These are the new rival outposts your tribe needs to take control of. He says you'll regret not being on their side. The only way you'll learn their secrets, Wung Fu and the tribe weapon now, is if you defeat him. And that will never happen. Your Sifu is pleased. You're one step closer to uniting the tribes. It's a pity you needed to use force to get the point across. But he's still concerned about the fate of the world. Believes the war you wage is based on the principle that if you win, the end will justify the means. He says you've grown so much stronger than when you first met. You know better than anyone that the fate of the world is still at stake. You need a world where everyone is guided only by their conscience. The fate of the world depends on the triumph of good. The Tree of Life still stands, and it's up to you to make sure it does so to the end. Got word you found the greatest glider of all, an Ark, and it's all good to go. Can't imagine how that would feel, to zoom so fast. Funny that you found an Ark when you don't need to go anywhere in it. The world's still going to be here. Proud of you for thinking about helping before escaping, either way. Wonders if there are any open seats left in that fancy Ark glider of yours.
So, what we have here is an opportunity to help your next. There's a seat open on the Ark should you want to offer it as a gesture of appreciation.
Why? You don't need anyone else but yourself and me, of course, but I'm a part of you, so that doesn't count.
If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. The only one we'd want to get away quickly from here is darkness.
But you know you can't go on without me. Even if I'm bad company, I complete you.
I think we can finally agree on something. It is better to be alone than in bad company. But best of all is being good company yourself.
Feels thrilled to snag a seat in your Ark. Can't wait to glide through the skies. Goop knows he's repeating himself, but can't help talking to you. Understands you have other places you need to go. We all share the same. He's helped out of date to get the Ark hardware restored. There's just some wiring left to do before the vessel's ready for takeoff. He says the spark plugs didn't fire, so the pistons couldn't compress the black juice to generate enough spruty bang bang for a takeoff. Gizmo isn't sure you'll need to make use of the Ark, though. It looks like your efforts to save the tree and the world are paying off. He knows your good-hearted nature means you won't leave him behind, but you need to work on yourself if he's going to be isolated with you in the Ark. There are things you don't see eye to eye on. It's not that he doesn't care about others, but the fact that the Ark only has 4 extra seats means you have to be picky when choosing company.
So, what we have here is an opportunity to help your next. There's a seat open on the Ark should you want to offer it as a gesture of appreciation.
Why? You don't need anyone else but yourself and me, of course, but I'm a part of you, so that doesn't count.
If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. The only one we'd want to get away quickly from here is darkness.
But you know you can't go on without me. Even if I'm bad company, I complete you.
I think we can finally agree on something. It is better to be alone than in bad company. But best of all is being good company yourself.
He's been thinking this whole thing with the Ark through and has decided he won't be joining you. First off, he isn't 100% sure he's got the wiring right, and really, he doesn't think he can stand being in that enclosed space with you for long. Gizmo will always make time for you. Didn't have much else to say, so no problem. Wuz isn't easy on the tongue, but I think he says he's happy to see a friendly face. Not too many of those around these days. Says it's good to see you again. He's Wiz. You might remember him from the old days when he let you try his octopod? Wiz remembers you were such a cheery kid, and he's glad to see that light hasn't faded from you, despite the years. But Wiz understands it was a long time ago, and memories get murkier the deeper you go, but says it helps to have friends with you to plumb those depths. He set up camp at the foot of the Tree of Life. It's gotten more difficult for it to find defenseless prey, as it's already eaten most of them. Wiz says our memory keeps things for us, preserves them until we are ready to face them again. He knows you've returned to face Lupa Lupin, and that confrontation is as inevitable as the tides. He's not surprised that the loss of your family could plunge you into the depths forever, but you've always been able to rise like a bubble to the surface, no matter what. He knows that though the tides of history may push you in one direction, you can always lay your own course. Ultimately, it's your choice. You were the one to be wronged and have lived with the consequences. He believes in consequence as it's a direct result of action.
Come toward the light.
Slow down. Why would you rush in?
When you see what you want, why wait?
Well, what about being careful?
Pah! Poppycock! Full speed ahead!
Asks if you ever think about freedom and whether any of us really has it. Did you make the decisions that brought you here, or are you just a pawn of fate? Maybe that's true for you, but he's not so sure about his own fate. Amazed the world is going to continue on, but happy to hear it. Still so many things to invent. Impressed that you fought so hard to keep the world spinning. Thinks you were smart to join with the Myriad. They have a rainbow of ways to approach any problem. Says they're unified in the ways that matter. But that's not nearly as important as this. Wiz says that you should let the past dwell in the depths. But there's something else down there too, gnawing at the Tree of Life. He's named it the Merc Puff. This is why he's tinker-tonkering with the octopod. But the lid got stuck, so he needs a big enough tug twister to open it up and let you a-go in. He can't leave the surge station, so you must help him find a tug twister. There's a wound-up mecha Fingro in the mecha stadium that still has one stuck on its back. Find it, and you'll find the tug twister. Getting that tool will help turn around the situation for sure. It'll definitely help him unshut the hatch. He believed the tug twister would do the trick, but now realizes brute force won't do the trick. You need something slick. Well, he means slick as in greasy, so you can lube the hinges of the lid. He can't argue against the fact your fur's shiny. He says the lid should open if you sprinkle grease it. Problem is, he's all out. He knows his old friend Choo-Choo always keeps his grease sprinklers well filled. He should have an extra that you can borrow. He stresses that you should come back as soon as you've retrieved the grease sprinkler. The Merc Puff is crunching bark by the minute. Wants you to think of it as a black tar spritzer. The dead zone is full of that slimy black goo. It's good for fuel, but it's also slippy stuff. Choo-Choo knew you would make it to him one day. All you had to do was follow the steel path. The rails might be getting rusty, but eventually they all converge on him. Wonders who doesn't like rules or rails. They keep you on the straight and narrow and bring you right where you belong. Says you followed the rails to where you need to be, but tracks have switches in them too. The question is then, will you keep on the same track or look for a way to hit that switch? You seem like you're on the right track already. He just hopes you don't get sidetracked onto a darker path. Whichever way you go, he wants you to know that the rails never steer you wrong. Stick to them, and they always bring you right to where you're meant to be. Wants to know if you've ever regretted taking one track in life instead of another. If you could go back, would you switch tracks or keep chugging along the one you're on? Likes your sureness, the way you keep at it like a chug-chug with no way to reverse. Seems like the world came out of its rut and is chugging toward higher ground again. Can't thank you enough for hitting the brakes and working to turn the world chug around. But let's not get derailed. Says he's surprised to see anyone this far out, but sometimes the wrong train does take you to the right station. As you can see, he didn't plan to make a stop here, but now that he had to, he's really happy to see you. He says his name is Choo-Choo. He's been off track since the world started dying, but he's trained his mind to stay positive regardless of the situation. Says sometimes life runs off the rails, but it's always better when they're good and greased. He's convinced the tracks are like the paths our lives take, and you must deal with the outcome, even if you didn't lay them yourself. This time, though, he was sidetracked and needs a new wing nut to get back on track.
Poto no kasabat malam.
Wingnuts are easy to find, as they're fitted on any in-front chugga-chugga out there. The challenge is taking them off, so he's happy you're here to do it for him.
Lapoto?
Says he knew you would, like he knows the way the rails run.
Ko sitaba. Kamaba papatisba. Lapoto?
Choo-Choo says he knew you'd come through. If someone makes a stop at your station, it's for a good reason, but he understands no one gets their tracks greased for free.
Lapoto? Kamaba koyaba.
He'd be happy to part with his spare grease sprinkler, as he believes it's a great fit for any of your business that needs to be unstuck.
Okatsumoto shumikaba.
He keeps it safe in a box on the handcart, in case of emergency.
Okatsumoto shumikaba. Papatisba kato.
It's on the cart. He wants to keep it close by. In general, you won't have much time to act in case of an emergency.
Okatsumoto shumikaba. Karimbatasaba.
Choo-Choo says you should help yourself to the grease sprinkler.
Paramalo.
It's a versatile tool from the bygone, a last of its kind, so don't let it go to waste.
Karimbatasaba. Chuchuchu.
He's convinced you'll put it to good use, as there are lots of stuckies out there that need greasing to open.
Malap.
Says there's no better person to use it. Glad the rails led you right here.
Run, Dark, run!
It's not a race.
You only say that because you're losing.
Doesn't mean I'm wrong.
No, there are lots of other reasons you're wrong.
Kompata.
Choo-Choo says he can't wait to get out of this place.
Moikan topasabata chuchuchu.
Wishes you goodbye.
Chuchu. Bye.
You shouldn't worry about smashing up the box. Choo-Choo has no use for it now.
Da.
Choo-Choo says he feels strongly about helping his next, just like you did for him.
Malam. Bye.
He's convinced there was a bigger reason you met. Sometimes the wrong train will take you to the right place.
Kompata.
He believes you've got what it takes to make a difference. He's witnessed it himself.
Kompata.
Figures everyone chooses their own path. The longer you ride the rails, though, the easier it is to travel with friends.
Koi.
Choo-Choo's thrilled you found the Ark. Just imagine how much faster than a chug that thing must be, and no rails needed.
Ko. Sap.
Needs no rails, no roads, nothing but air.
Karimbatasaba. Ko. Sap.
The world's on the mend, so no need to leave it. But just think of all the places the Ark could take you.
Lapoto.
Says he's happy to see the Ark in your hands. Knows you'll go great places with it and do some good.
Chuchuchu.
Wonders who you might call aboard the Ark with you.
So, what we have here is an opportunity to help your next. There's a seat open on the Ark should you want to offer it as a gesture of appreciation.
Why? You don't need anyone else but yourself and me, of course, but I'm a part of you, so that doesn't count.
If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. The only one we'd want to get away quickly from here is darkness.
But you know you can't go on without me. Even if I'm bad company, I complete you.
I think we can finally agree on something. It is better to be alone than in bad company. But best of all is being good company yourself.
After spending a life on the rails, he's eager to ride the skies with you. Just let him pack his rollerboard and he'll roll aboard. Choo-Choo says he's ready to pack up and leave. Understands you have other places you need to go. Wiz says that there's no plan to confront the Merkpuff until the octopod is properly armed. He knows you'll need something that packs enough boom to put a dent in that shell, or better yet, head. Pyro sticks will do the trick. He says his old friend Boom makes all things that go bang. There's a rumor that some of Boom's pyro sticks shot off and are out there roaming free. You should keep an eye on the horizon for pyros. If you're fast, you have a shot at catching some of them before they go off. He's a peculiar little fellow that's been fiddling with Splodies since he was a kidling. It runs in his blood. Their family recipes pack a punch. The pyro sticks will cause a bang, but targeting is on you. At least now you have a chance to hurt the Merkpuff where it counts. He hopes so, as there's no Plan B, or more correctly, Plan C. Out of Date has named this Plan B. Plan A was to take on the World Eaters by foot, or flaps in this case. Turns out swimming down there was a bad idea. Wiz has been working on another cannon, but instead of pyro sticks, it squirts guppos, scaly distractions for anyone with an appetite disorder, and irresistible for the Merkpuff in particular. Seems the best way to find guppos is go talk to Gil. He has a natural sonar and knows where the guppos sub the surf. This means you'll have to go visit Gil at Burblebottom. Find Gil and he'll be able to tell you where to find the guppos. Guppos are lively beings, and they're fast too. They're here, there, and everywhere. Or at least they used to be. That there is a fume foundry, where Toxanol processed go juice. This is Burblebottom, residence of Gil. Happy to finally get to meet you. He's seen a lot of things wash up on his miniature shore, but nothing as exciting as you. Figures it's impossible. As bad as the air might be, the goo is even worse. It must have been upstream only to get to this point in your histo-future. But which way are you going now? With the flow or against? It's crazy hard to flipper against the surf, but you can't save the world if you let it sweep you away. Either way, it's a shame the surf has gotten so nasty. Thinks life is like trying to ride a wave. You need to pick the right one, but you don't really know which one that is until you're on top of it. Better to ride a wave than let the perfect one pass you by. Seems to him that there's always another wave coming along. Can't imagine how wonderful it's going to be to surf on gooless goo. The world is going to live. Can't thank you enough for fighting against the goo. Happy you ride alongside the Myriad. They bring a real shine to everything they work with. Says they shine so bright, they glitter on the waves. But none of that's nearly as important as enjoying the day, right? He never drank from this pond because of the disgusting things done there.
Tayon Godway Fodishon.
Even the fish stopped drinking here after the pollution made the surf mucked and the air blocked his gills.
Mehaldi Feta. Fest and trip. I don't know food.
He figures the Tree of Life isn't drinking either. Or, well, that's not true. He said it does drink, as it has no other choice. It's a tree, but it's forced to drink poison. Figures you're right, but that doesn't mean he has to drink that. His friend Wiz needs guppos for one reason or another, and Gil is ready to point you in the right direction. But here, you're only going to find dead ones. He's pretty sure Wiz wants them alive. Well, at least the ones that aren't already rotting.
Cofintra Bidwich and another Sudden.
If you head in the right direction, you'll find a clean enough bit of surf to snag yourself some guppos. Then you can get them to Wiz for whatever he has in mind.
What?
Figures he's always been a friend to Wiz, and now he can be one to you, too. That seems to be enough guppos to provide the octopod with infinite ammunition. He's surprised the Merc Puff's been able to hold its breath all this time. It's just another proof of the evolutionary change caused by Toxanol's contamination. Being undersurf has meant the Merc Puff has been left alone to munch on the root down there undisturbed. This means the northwest route has suffered more damage than the others. The marks the corporation left behind on the land are everywhere, but they also abandoned technology of which he's sure you only found a fraction. That was the last of them. You've sealed the fate of the tribe and the tree. It's time for the end game. You have your destiny. Follow it all the way back to Out of Date. He never told anyone about what's next, but he's sure it involves you. Just continue to stay true to yourself and respect others whatever happens. You've become their pride, the guiding light of the tribe. It's time to return to the tree one last time. He's learned you discovered and activated the last of the arcs. That's the only word that really works for it, he's sure. Just imagine how much more of the world you can see in the Ark, now that the world's still going to be around. You fought well for the world. You can be proud of that, no matter what. Questions if you could possibly have any open spaces left for fellow travelers on that Ark of yours.
So, what we have here is an opportunity to help your next. There's a seat open on the Ark should you want to offer it as a gesture of appreciation.
Why? You don't need anyone else but yourself and me, of course, but I'm a part of you, so that doesn't count.
If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. The only one we'd want to get away quickly from here is darkness.
But you know you can't go on without me. Even if I'm bad company, I complete you.
I think we can finally agree on something. It is better to be alone than in bad company. But best of all is being good company yourself.
Almost can't speak. He's so happy to be joining your voyage, to conquer the skies and everything beyond. Wiz knows it's the same old, but he likes talking to you. Understands you have other places you need to go. Out of Date reminds you that the time has come to end the tribe war. He's happy to help. Without the octopod, it would have been tough wrestling the Merkpuff. Says talking to you was interesting. He guesses you're back for more. Out of Date reminds you that the time has come to end the tribe war. He guesses you're back for more. Says talking to you was interesting. The Netra tribe values liberty and is striving to protect freedom. They want to continue with each tribe being responsible for their own and believe that uniting the tribes is the only way you can survive. He was hoping it wouldn't end this way. There's no reason to fight instead of uniting. It would be fighting over nothing. He thinks being likable isn't enough. If fight is all you do, he can't stand by you. He's realized a peaceful end to this would be best. He'll entrust the fort to you. The rival Sifu is defeated, and the destiny of their tribe is in your hands. You are free to choose their fate, but not free from the consequences of your choice. He'll leave it up to you to decide the fate of the rival Sifu, but suggests you be merciful. Do good, and good will follow you. Thinks it's a good gesture to offer support to others when you can see that they need it. And with that, you're spinning your own fate, good or bad, never to be undone. Side by side they'll stand until order and stability is reinstituted. He's gotten news that the other tribes have realized there are no winners in this war. There's no purpose in antagonism. All three of them believe your tribe has grown strong enough to unite them. It's clear your efforts have been successful. There's light at the end of the tunnel. The tribes are tired of war and will remember the one who brought them peace, whether you decide it'll be now or later. So, do you want to end the war now or continue the crusade? He agrees. Better save your energy for something meaningful.
Tika Maperna. Far Kobemako Tofar Titaba.
Out of Date says there'll be consequences of the war, but there are more pressing matters at hand.
Yeah, move furbo. Boom.
The last World Eater has been left undisturbed with the tree while you focused on the war.
Far Kobemako Tofar Titaba. Yeah, Savoita Mua.
He thought someone with your light perspective and key would have had different priorities and faced the World Eaters before resolving the tribe war.
Luatolo Maua. Beboko Contabe.
Regardless, Out of Date is grateful the tribe war is over.
E baso Tombubu Bukoye.
Out of Date says the signs of the end of the world are everywhere. It seems nature is preparing to take revenge.
Luatolo Maua.
The day of reckoning is coming, and you are invited. He can feel you're approaching the end date.
Ya you Maua.
If you haven't decided whom of all like-minded, light-hearted beings you've met have earned a seat on the Ark yet, it's time to do that now.
Toledrea ya Maoloa. Cantita duela bofo.
Then grasp your last chance to make sure Lupa Lupin stopped for good. The tree settled its score, but it left yours half done.
Iatu yao Maua. Ka nuka nuburak.
He says you need to see Lupa Lupin eye to eye one last time.
Valu alu hero.
He's happy to help.
Weta gono.
Wouldn't be surprised if you met again.
All the goose are gonna have a woosa hut.
The Sifu is seeking revenge too. He hasn't forgotten what Lupa Lupin did, but he also wants to stop him from attacking his tribe.
The gula mosse.
That the world seems to survive doesn't mean he must.
Jago thinking, get the faller.
He hopes you agree, even if it goes against your light-hearted nature.
Get a thinking hit him.
There's no room for predators in the world the Myriad tribe is building.
Don't count.
But he knows this is your fight. You should handle it. Lupa Lupin's own fear was his shackles, not the roots of the tree. It just changed him. You have a chance to stand back. Shockwaves spread when the world crumbles. This is not a prophecy, me telling you about the future. It's you shaping it. Here's a vulgar display. This is how it ends. The Predator and the world itself suffering. But at least it's a sign they're both still alive.
So, what we have here is a clear matter of life and death, and only you can make a difference.
You continue to make bad decisions and mistakes. Oh, it never ends.
It's easy to make a good decision when there's only one option. The only mistake here is you.
My mistake is letting you speak. My conviction is that the world would be a better place without your voice.
Convincing yourself doesn't win the argument. In the end, we won't remember the words of our enemies, but the silences of our friends.
The weak can't forgive. Forgiveness is a strength. It's not all life and death. It's no better time than now to accept a helping hand. Do you wonder what turn life might have taken if you'd done things different? A left when you went right? A yes when you said no? You've walked the thin line between survival and disaster and haven't lost your balance yet. It's because of you the Tree of Life and the world has been given a second chance. You carried the light in a world full of dark and made a difference in a place that needed change. You allied with the Myriad tribe and acted on understanding of the greater good and a code of honor. However, light and dark does simply represent the polarities of life. One can't exist without the other. This isn't the end. Just being surrounded by nature as it heals itself will rejuvenate us. Nature will teach us how to survive. So, trust your conscience to show you the way, and everything else will follow. As foretold, you were destined to split the chains of this world. But you're not alone. You filled the Ark, and those that shared your perspective and gained your trust will accompany you on your journey. Is there a world out there that's better suited for those imbalanced in their light nature than this one? Whether or not, we'll leave your story on record, so those who come after will know you followed your light nature and saved the world. So, when all is said and done, it turned out to be an unusual ending after all. What could be better than ending the story the right way? Ending it your way, a beginning of something new.